cover the timeline of our main literacy stages in young English second language classroom. It is a primary school ages 5 to 11. So this webinar is actually our ChestBook study group regular meeting and covers the answer to the question our members posted, and that is how to start introducing phonics into early English classroom. So to give you just a little bit of background info so that you can easier follow what we'll be talking. In November 2024, we had a guest in our study group, Sandra Pine, an expert on phonics, who I hope she will join us today to give feedback on the presented activities. So after the webinar we had with Sandra, we had discussions with our members, and what I learned that all is well when doing the activities as a separate slot, compartmentalized. It's true, it's much easier for us teachers to present the part of the knowledge to students and to grade it afterwards. Well, to make it even more convenient, children can learn that segregated knowledge quicker and we can get results straight away. This is easier to grade, and that is how the teaching that we are used to, the traditional teaching, is organized. However, lately, more and more complaints are heard how children in the long run do not remember what they've learned and cannot use the language at all, apart from those who have learned the language outside of the classroom environment. The problem behind it is in the compartmentalizing approach to teaching. While the traditional approach is very categorized and does not connect pieces of knowledge together. The proven and visible fact is that we have subjects at school that are divided by lessons and not projects that would combine all the subjects. So I have heard many complaints from many teachers in higher grades that we teachers who teach young children do not teach our students much, despite our efforts and all the knowledge we've put into children. It just seems to have disappeared. So what I'm going to show you today is the teaching approach that does not segregate the learned knowledge, but upgrades it from one activity to the other. We do that in such a way where children, in order to be able to do the next activity, they need to apply the knowledge from the previous activity. This way, the knowledge is not only upgraded, but also connected, entwined, if you will. If, however, we want to do that, we educators first need to know what our aim, our big picture in language learning is. Because if we just focus on what we're going to teach our kids this year and do not bother what was comprehended before and where the knowledge that we teach leads them on, it means that we compartmentalize the teaching, and that doesn't lead to the language learning. So what we will cover today is we'll first discuss what the big picture in language learning is. I called it literacy. So first we'll see what literacy is, and then we'll discover how to establish quality learning environment where literacy can happen. We'll also establish what aims in language learning are, because we need to have one big aim as our beacon, not to lose our destination, or else we might get lost in the forest. I'll also show you where you can learn more, and at the end we'll have Q&A where I'll answer any of your questions that come up during the webinar. So if one question arises, please just write it in the chat and I'll answer it at the end. Quickly about me. I've done quite some institutional education that culminated in completing a master's degree in primary teaching. I've received certificates in convergent pedagogy and English language learning through uninstitutionalized channels. To help me with communicative teaching, I completed 4 creative writing courses in Wesleyan University, USA. And everything that I've learned, I implemented into practice as a teacher and a teacher trainer. So I have some experience. Now, what is literacy? It will be easier for you to follow the webinar if we come to the same definition of literacy. There are many literacies, but today we are going to talk about language literacy. The key focus in the language literacy is that we understand, interpret, and communicate using all four language skills with one single purpose, which is to navigate and engage with people, either live or via texts. So, communicative teaching is our guide, our big aim. Literacy is our guide, our big aim that we want to achieve after the period in primary school of teaching. About the quality learning environment. Quality learning environment is space that nurtures engagement, creativity, and effective communication. It provides a safe, familiar, and stimulating context in which new language can be absorbed, experimented with, and applied so that it makes some meaning to our students. So quality learning environment empowers learners so that they learn how to make connections between words, not just memorize the words, that they connect words with actions and emotions. And it is the ability to connect those connections, which is the fundamental skill for communication, literacy, and the lifelong learning. The way to establish this quality learning environment is by using authentic material. There are many, but I learned that with young learners, picture books work best. And to create a quality learning environment, we do it through storytelling. I'm going to present to you how driving a car can be compared to language learning. So first, I would like you to write in the chat, what do you think the main aim, the main purpose of driving is? Could you do that for me, please? Destination, okay. What else? To get from A to B. I would agree with that. To get from one place to another. A trip. Okay, to make a trip. Yeah, to get from point A to point B. Yeah. I think that we agree. Now, the next question is, do I need to know every single part of the car to be able to drive the car and accomplish my aim, which is to drive from point A to point B? No, Sabina, I agree with you. What about the rest? Do you think you need to know all the screw in the car? Everything? Absolutely not. So we agree that we do not need to know every single thing in a car. All right, it is good to know what material the car interior has, to know what detergent to use when you want to clean it. But that absolutely does not affect our ability to drive. And also, it is very useful that we know where to put the gas into the car so that we can travel. But that, again, does not affect our ability to drive. So there are different aims that you have when you drive a car, and you approach to those aims step by step. So we agreed that driving a car does not necessarily mean we need to know every single thing about the car. Now, if we look at communication, I'm going to ask you the same question. Do we need to know every single grammar and detail and language detail to be able to communicate? Can you give me the answer to that, please? No. Okay, we agree. But apparently everybody does not think so, because what we teach at our schools is the language. We teach the tenses. We teach how the tenses go together, how they are formed, what the auxiliary is, what the suffix is. We teach children pile of vocabulary, and then we just grade that vocabulary. So apparently, there are different aims in language learning that we teachers have. Otherwise, the result would be that children would know how to communicate. And I'll try to lead you with questions to how the communicative teaching works and why children have the ability to exchange information orally, to receive and understand the written message, and how they can convey a written message. I would like to express here that what I'm going to show you today is a work in progress, and it's constantly changing and upgrading. So it's all the time work in progress. So let's compare learning to communicate with learning to drive. The main aim when learning to drive, we've established, is to get from one place to another. At this point, we do not need to bother how the engine works, whether the tank is full, and if the windshield liquid reservoir is full. And the learning to communicate has the main aim that to pass, or to exchange information. So the same goes with the language learning, that at this point we do not need to know how the tenses work or learn the vocabulary by topics, which is the case usually young language learning mainstream approach is. When we ask ourselves, what basic things do I need to know when to learn to drive, is to become familiar with the car. It means I need to know how the pedals work, how to use the mirrors, how to use the steering wheel. And at this point, we do not use the main roads yet. We use driving training area or practice ground, whatever you call them. So with the language learning, the learners start with listening, and we ask ourselves, what do they need to understand the message? To understand the message, they need to become familiar with the language, which means that they need to accept the language as a means of communication. And to accept the language as the means of communication is they need to listen to our voice, whether it is happy, sad, whether we are excited, whether we are sad. They look at our body language, our gesticulation. They make meaningful connections and stuff like that. And this is the number one difference, what we usually get through course books, where they just try and memorize the vocabulary. So if we now sum up the basic difference between the traditional and communicative teaching, we can say that with traditional teaching in early years, the focus of teaching is teaching vocabulary, which is topic related and learned by topic associations, like doing a shopping list, foods together, clothes together, colors together. And after children memorize the vocabulary, they are graded for what they've memorized. However, in such way of memorization is, yes, quicker, but is also quickly forgotten. On the other hand, with communicative teaching, we present content-related information even in the early years by focusing on passing the information through socialization, that is, building relationships by using social skills. Yes, vocabulary is also used and learned, but vocabulary, the way how it is put together, is carrying a message, and therefore it is context associated. That context associations reflect the use of language. So we teach children how to learn to use the language. That way, the retention is longer, and when children need to use the language themselves to convey the message, it is quicker to recall that information. So if you remember when I said what literacy means, it means that we can recall the information and we can navigate and engage. We do not repeat, we use the language with people or with contexts. So we may complain as much as we want with kids that learn only for grading, but we need to ask ourselves, how do we teach? Is it maybe the way we teach that encourages them to learn just for grading and not for using? So that is the question that teacher needs to ask ourselves. If we continue with comparing driving and communicating, when we move on to driving, when we would like to come to from one place to another, then we need to know how to steer the car, how to fill in the gas, where to find mechanics if something goes wrong. And we also need to learn traffic regulations and the landscape to know that we are heading not to Spain, but to, I don't know, Austria. So I ask myself what I need to travel around. The same goes with the language. We need to ask ourselves, what do I need in order to exchange information? And to exchange information is what do I need to compose a spoken language, and what do I need to understand and write a message? In both situations, we need to know how to relate, connect the relevant information together. That is the main aim of the language learning, which is learn the vocabulary in the context, the use of tenses, not how the tenses are formed, but what is the use of them, text structure, and text sentence. If it is the spoken language, we need to also focus on pronunciation and socialization, which is what is written here. And if we have the written language, it is good to know how to spell. So if we look at our final aim, our beacon, which is at the age 11 in Slovenia, the goals, the aims that we have at our national examination tests, which is what is written here. If you want to do listening, reading, writing, there is no speaking, but we can also focus on speaking. Everything, all of that is based how the student can relate and connect the relevant information together. So what are the activities that we can do in order to get to that stage? Let's first go quickly through the basic activities so that you will get the big picture of what it is, and then we'll go and I will present you also the examples how children did it in a classroom. So in order to get to the level of this national examination aims, we first need to visually connect relevant information together and see that the text, how the text structure works. We do that with so-called picture story. We also need to learn the text structure, how to find information, how to understand the meaning of the words. And we do that with a written text, which is taken from this picture story. Of course, if we want to speak and if you want to write, we need to use narrative present, past, and future at the beginning. And we need to know how to time orient ourselves so we learn the patterns of the tenses. I stress out patterns because once you know how one pattern in one tense works, it can be applied to any tense. We'll address all these activities up close with examples, don't worry. This is just an overview of them. So in order to be able to get to this stage 5, children need to have the prior knowledge to learn the parts of speech. We do that through the tool called word web and the visual story. Using the word web, we learn the mechanics, children learn the mechanics of the narrative present, that is part of the verb and how they form positive, negative, and question sentences. Here they also learn the pattern of the tense formation, which is then in the stage 5 applied to other tenses. And using the word web, they also learn the sentence structure. Of course, in order to be able to come to the stage 5, they need to have the prior knowledge where they learn the pronunciation by using phonics and visualize the spelling of the words. We help them by color code introduction. And we also read a project story to help them with fluency in reading and understanding, connecting pieces of information together with the help of illustrations. This is color code text. To reinforce fluency in reading, they start with their color code reading badge. Of course, in order to be able to get to this stage 3, they need to know the prior knowledge, which is they need to become familiar with English letters and sound system, where we introduce phonics. This is the part where Sandra, as our guest, explains us how to do that. And this is just one part in the literacy stages. So to help them with fluency in reading and understanding, connecting, relating pieces of information together with the help of illustrations, we together read the picture story, the project story. And at this stage, the teacher, the educator reads the story and children just follow. And of course, in order to be able to get to the stage 2, children need to become familiar with the English language. It means to feel comfortable when we speak English. So to understand, they do not just look at us, teach us how we use our voice, what our gesticulation is. We can also read the story, and with the help of illustrations, they get to know the meaning of our speaking. So reading illustration is the first step of literacy. We also use doodling. A doodle is a visual tool where children reinforce their speaking and understanding through retelling, redrawing the project story themselves. And in order to practice speaking, they present this doodle story to us, to teachers. That is the stage 1, and this is how we start. And to go and see all these activities a bit closer, we'll start with the stage 1, and I will present all these activities, how they work. So as I said, at the stage 1, children read illustrations. Illustrations, if they are good, they are like structured text for a child, where a lot of information is entwined into different messages. So this is the first step for a child to learn how to read with understanding, while connecting the pieces of information that we speak together while looking at the illustrations. We do it through storytelling, and storytelling has 3 parts. We will not delve into those 3 parts because it would take another hour to do that, but I'll show you where you can get the information about that. Then, after we tell the story, children retell the story through doodling. Doodling is the visual tool. It is just a black and white piece of paper where, through drawing, children reinforce the story's plot. Children on their own draw and connect pieces of information together with the illustrations, and then through gap-fill storytelling, they tell the story. I'm now going to share the screen with you, and I'll show you how a child gap-fill reads the story. And now the 3 of them try to pull. Is it okay?
No.
No, the turnip doesn't go out. Who do they call?
Mouse.
A little mouse.
And the mouse
Grabs the cat.
grabs the dog, grabs the girl, grabs the bird, grabs the lady, grabs the old man, grabs the tongue.
And they
Pull.
and now it's okay.
Okay.
As you have seen in this video, it is not that the child tells the story from the beginning till the end, everything. The framework of the story is still the educator's part, And at the certain point, the educator stops and the child, with the help of their own illustrations, fill in the words, and those words are connected with the plot story. It makes sense. So that is the first stage. Then we come to the second stage, where again we relate and connect the relevant information together, like we did with the first stage. Here we introduce an English alphabetic system, namely the letters and their sounds. They put together the familiar words from the project story, not just any words. So we just take the story that they are already familiar with through storytelling and through doodling. They do that with their bodies, as you can see in this picture. This is P because P has legs. A is like a cocoon or an egg, and K has like a giraffe, a long neck, so they stretch up. We also do that with Lego blocks. If it is turned up, it means it has a long neck. And here you see the girl spelled the word bark. And here are just the letters that they put together, and there are the lines that they know if they're turned up or if they're turned down. So we introduce the English alphabet. And here is also the point where we present the phonics, the ones that are in the project story. So the aim is to become familiar with the spelling of the known words, the ones that children came across in the project story, not just any words, because we would like to relate and connect the information together. That's why we use those words. Together with the educator, children then read the project story to learn those words and to fit the learned vocabulary into the context. I will again now share the screen with you how the educator reads the story and where children fill in the words. Are you ready to read? To tell me the story? Yep. This is
Patrick.
And Patrick has
A pen.
Well, is Patrick's pet?
A bear.
I don't know. Is Patrick's pet?
A tiger.
I don't know. Maybe Patrick's pet is...
A dog.
Oh, no, it isn't.
Why?
Because Patrick's pet doesn't woof woof
Bark.
or
Rock in the park.
so Patrick's pet isn't
No. A dog.
a dog. This is Patrick's
Ja
pet.
sam prvo mislila da ti spokorili drvo.
Oh, no. This is Patrick's pet. I guess this is Patrick's pet's tail. Could be. So this has a tail. Tiger has a tail. A bear has a tail. And your bear has a tail as well. So we're all in. Maybe Patrick's pet is...
A hamster.
No, it isn't.
Why?
Well, because Patrick's pet doesn't
Squeak, squeak.
or keep.
Foot in the cheeks.
That's right. So Patrick's pet isn't,
No.
isn't
Hamster.
a hamster. Okay, I think you've managed to see that it is almost the same like the gap fill doodling story. This is gap fill reading the story where the teacher stops, the educator stops, and the kids fill in the missing word again in the context of the story so they know how the words are used. As you have probably noticed, it is not just to fill in the words of pets, but also how they make sounds. Later on is also what they eat. So the words are in mixed topic and are relevant to the content of the story, not just topic related. Once they know the story, and because the story is trivial, they know it by heart, we combine the spelling that we've done in the first phase and the story, and they start writing. So children fill in gaps in the project story text and then read it. The aim here is not to learn the spelling by heart, but they learn the strategy how to imprint the spelling of the word, which we've done beforehand. How to do that? Well, they know the story by heart. And because they know the story by heart, they anticipate, they already know what should come there, which word should come, and then it is much easier for them to read it and then see how it is spelled. So when they read, they need to finger follow what they read, because by finger following, they focus on the word that they read and gradually imprint the spelling into their brains. I will now show you how one child read the gap fill part. Which animal are you going to read? A dog, a rabbit, or a horse?
A horse.
So where is a horse? No, that's a rabbit. Where is a horse? Where is a horse? That one. Okay, let's read that one.
Is Patrick's pet a horse? No, it.
No, it.
It.
No, it.
It isn't.
Well done.
Why?
How do we read this? Because.
Because Patrick spat the
doesn't
eat.
No. What does horse do? Ihaha, that is
Nay.
nay. It says nay. Reading the project story, all the words were already spoken, and when you read the story many times, you stop at a different word so that they learn what they need to fill in, and then it's much easier for them to read. And I think you've noticed how the activities upgrade and complement one another. Okay, then we come to the stage 3, where we introduce color coding. Now here I have to say that I did the material until recently by myself, everything. Today you have an option to buy the package where everything is included and you have everything ready and you don't need to do it on your own. So when we introduce the color code pronunciation, this is a strategy where children learn to read by coloring the letters that produce the same sound with the same color. That helps them to see how the word is spelled, and they see this word as a picture, not as separate letters, especially if you practice phonics as well. Again, we do this in a context of the project story, where information is entwined and related so that it helps to relate and connect the relevant information together. At the beginning, I did everything myself, but now it is available for you, and I'll show you that at the end. So a color code reading is a process. It cannot be done in one lesson. We do it sound by sound, and we go through here in this picture, I had a book, one alphabet book that I chose that had some context, and we introduced the color code spelling. And now I'm going to share with you how, after several lessons, when the whole color coding is done, children read this.
A
color.
cuddly cat curls up in a church and dreams of mice.
Well done. So the first stage is that they read the color code. It may look daunting to us, so many colors, but the practice has shown that children read most of them just one book with that color code chart, and then they don't need it anymore because they remember what color makes what sound. So as I said, the first I did everything by myself because the material was not available, but now the material is available, so you have everything ready and you can use the picture book that is already color coded, and children can practice at home. This is the one that you see here as for personal use, that children do at home, but the original one that is not color coded is at school. And as children practice reading at home, the color code system, then they come to school and then they read from the original book. These are the books that I used to have when the material was not available, and I cannot share that with you because this is not my material. So it is just for the classroom use. So at home, children read color code text, and then when they come back to school, we have a special part of the lesson devoted to reading, and this is how they read when they practice reading at home.
Fat cat on a mat. Fat cat see a bee.
What is this?
Sees a bee.
Sees a bee.
Fat cat flies up a tree. I don't like bees, helps fat cat.
This letter here, we haven't learned it yet, but this is Y.
Helps fat cat. Buzz. I don't like bees and I don't like trees.
So children do not need to know all the complete color code system by heart because they are really eager to learn to read on their own. And when they start reading and coming back to school, you explain certain sounds as they go. Okay, then we come to the stage 4. The stage 4 is already the stage when we introduce the real grammar. And we do this by using another visual tools, which is Word Web. This one here is Word Web, and this one here is Visual Story. These are tools that help with analyzing the project story to learn parts of speech. So we first separate parts of speech by question words, okay? And of course, they know the story first. This is all done after storytelling. We separate parts of speech by question so that they know what words relate to what question, and then we put the story back together. And I will now show you how a child reads the visual story and the analyzed story puts back together.
This is a story about a caterpillar.
This is if it is the end of sentence, you say this is a story about a caterpillar. You go down with the voice.
About a caterpillar
On
Sunday. A caterpillar.
We don't have a caterpillar yet on Sunday.
An egg lies
Where?
on the leaf. On the leaf.
On the leaf. What happens then?
Then an egg pops out.
Who pops out from the egg? Pop out means that comes out. Like this. Cuckoo, I'm here. Who does that? Then
A
a caterpillar.
pop out.
It's one caterpillar. It is
Pops
pops out.
on Monday. The caterpillar wakes up.
Good.
And
he
is hungry.
a caterpillar. Here you have to choose a caterpillar.
Eats one apple.
The caterpillar
goes.
So after telling the story orally, children then write the story in their notebooks. We do the same story analysis with the written text. So this is the same very hungry caterpillar in the word web and in the visual story. So we do simultaneously what we do on the paper and the notebook, we also then do on the wall. And this is how they then write the story. So what they do is the introduction is usually what we put together, as you've seen in the film clip, on the board. If they want to change that introduction, they can do that. And we have the conclusion written on the board. And the middle part is what is on the wall. What if practiced orally, they simply write it down. And then we color the parts of speech. And I use the same colors for parts of speech that are in the sentence quest cards so that it is easier for them then later to play the cards and put sentences together. So this is also the stage where, as you've noticed, we introduce to students how the time is presented by using the verb. So we start with narrative present and they learn the auxiliary do and does, when to use not, how to form questions, and when to put the suffix and what the suffix is. So this is the stage when they learn the pattern of how the verb works. And next year, when we introduce future and past, we simply put the same strategy of how the tense is put together into future and into the past. And we also play with word web. We start translating the sentences. I tell them and they write down the Slovene sentence and they need to translate it into English and see how parts of speech are different. That English sentence always starts with who, then is followed by what do, then it is what, then it is where, and we finish the sentence with when. Here is a short clip of how...
How about if I say Gusenica spi z hruško? How are you going to say that?
A tiny caterpillar sleeps with
With a pair. Which numbers did we use now?
1, 2, and 3.
Great. So this is the first position, second position, third position. Beautiful.
It's also not done just, in one lesson. It takes time. It's a time-consuming thing, but it's worth its while because children really learn how the sentence structures work, and to reinforce these sentence structures with card games, it just works perfectly. Then we have the last stage before we come to the national examination part. We use another tool, which is picture story. This is the part where we put up the picture story, which presents the text and the text structure. So it has the title, it has the title, it has the introduction, it has the body, which is divided into paragraphs, and at the end it has the conclusion. And for instance, this is one sentence, okay? It is helped with a picture, with the pictures, and as children read the visual story, as you've seen with the very hungry caterpillar, so they also read this picture story. And of course, they need to show what they say. I'll just show you quickly how one of the students read this story.
One winter's day. The story is about a hedgehog and his house. One day is winter and it's windy. The wind whooshes away the hedgehog, and the hedgehog is sad. The hedgehog puts on a woolly hat, a scarf and mittens. The hedgehog is walking and walking and walking and comes to a meadow.
You've probably noticed that as the child was reading, we already introduced continuous tense. The hedgehog is walking and walking and walking. So she was able to do that, but it is not necessarily that you do that already. You really need to see how the child comprehends whatever, however he's reading. So the next step, once they know how to read the picture story, is to put the same picture story into the text. And it is also divided so that it has the title, that it has the introduction, that it has the body part, it has the conclusion, and that it is divided by paragraphs. So here we play, I say to play with the text, where we find the relevant information, that I ask for the information and they need to find information, or that they, for instance, find the verb that is the noun that is in plural, or find all the verbs. When writing this text from the picture story, the educator needs to slip in the unknown words, the synonyms, which we didn't use in the narration, the picture story narration, so that you then ask a child, what does it mean? For instance, I did here squeeze. What does it mean, squeeze? And then they learn the strategy, how to understand the unknown words from the context of the story, from the content and the context of the story. And they also organize themselves in the text so to find information, whether it is at the beginning of the story, whether it is at the end of the story, because they know the story. And this is the strategy how to do it. As I said, when I didn't have the material, I did everything by myself, but you have the text already ready and the package Winter Holiday, and also the activity that you do to see how children understand the text and use the vocabulary in the context. This is the gap fill activity. There are 3 levels of gap fill activity, and you can write the words in, or they have them separately printed, and they can put the words already written on the gaps that you see there. So this is the stage where they also learn the time concept. So when they have the story, we focused on different parts of speech and color-coded them with the same colors as the sentence quest cards have. Here we color only the verbs. The story that is first written is written in the narrative present. They find the verbs in the story, and then we introduce the future and the past. So the future, the narrative future and the narrative past. So how we add the auxiliary will, and the past tense, the suffix ed or the irregular verb, and we introduce irregular verbs that are in the text, not all of them to learn, I don't know, 10 of irregular verbs by heart, but they see that when you want to tell the story by heart, there are 2 options. Either it is either or it is the irregular verb, and they learn by heart those irregular verbs. And they also, of course, learn the auxiliary. It is much, much better this way to go with the tenses all at once, because this way they get to know how to time orient themselves. And it is really, really a strong strategy that you present the children the pattern of the tenses, because it is always the same. I tell them it is just playing ping pong with the suffix and with the auxiliary, and the infinitive is always there. So it is just a combination, either both or just one. And we start learning the narrative, the simple tenses, and once they get the pattern and see how it works, and as we go, we learn the irregular verbs that are relevant in the story we are doing. And once they see that, we play cards, we play a sentence quest cards, and they compose letters. And because everything is written in the cards, all the verb formation and the examples, how the certain part of speech, where is the position in the sentence, they quickly learn how to compose sentences together. And these cards are not related to any text, so they go to the next level. They try to use the knowledge that was introduced to them within the context. They use it in a new environment. So this is the last stage. And once they know this, then you can start really teaching them to compose a new text together, because they know how to do the introduction, they know how to divide the body into the separate meaningful paragraphs and how to do the conclusion. And by this time, they know how to put sentences together. So here are, in short, presented the milestones of the path to literacy. As you see, I haven't written the age because the stages are not always age related. If your children first come to learn English at the age of 9, they will need to learn to read illustrations too. The only difference is that at the age 5, children will need 2 years to learn, and at the age of 9, it will take them approximately 2 months. What to remember from today's webinar? Even though children are the same age, they comprehend differently. Not all will progress at the same pace. That is why group work is essential. So it's better to follow the stages, not the fixed aims at a certain year. If you use ChestBook, unfortunately, you cannot introduce literacy the way I have presented. You may squeeze in some activities I have presented, but children will not get the result you'd like or the result I have presented they can get to, because they will simply not have enough time to comprehend each stage. Course books, on the one hand, designed to teach the language, not the use of the language, and they are packed with data to memorize, which will not leave you enough time to do the literacy. Well, that's unfortunate. Okay, this is my part in the presentation. And as I promised at the beginning, I can show you where you can learn more before we get to the Q&A session. So, as I said at the beginning, today's webinar is an open door for our regular study group meeting. Apart from meetings, there is also a platform where you can access the methodology recordings that show and explain the activities that I have shown to you today in much, much more detail and depth. So let's go to this methodology side just to show you what you can get. So this is the methodology side. Here are the chapters where all the activities that I have presented today through the webinar are recorded and explained in detail. You have the recordings, and every recording also has, if you see the recording, every recording has its content also written so that you can hear and read about it. So you have you have the modules that cover the project, which are the modules down to the use of language. Then you also have the presentation of how you can organize the lesson within each grade, or how the stages are presented at a certain grade. Then, as I said at the beginning, we have regular meetings. So all the meetings are recorded. And if you not attend the meetings, you can go and watch at your own pace whenever the time is convenient for you. And we also have a special section for the webinars that we had. We already had 2 of them. With Sandra, as I mentioned, we had the phonetic awareness. Then it was Fiona Hunter who presented craft in early English language acquisition. And today's webinar is also be posted in this webinar recording section. Apart from methodology side, where you get all the information about the activities, we also have the platform where you can ask a question and then or post the challenge, and then we discuss at our meetings. Apart from that, as I said, you also have the material. As I mentioned once, there is no material on the market that we could use in a classroom to support this strategy. So far, I have been doing every year the material myself, but now with the help of Social Tides and Inco Academy and the Google Oregon, who financially supported my project, I managed to publish the material. So the first one that I'm going to present to you is the ChessBook Story for Teachers, where you can get all the material that you need to present, to realize the project. So this is the parcel, like a folder, and in it you get a picture book, flashcards, read and write sheets in 3 different levels, together with the words that children can gap fill, or you can write them if you want. And they're color coded. So the light blue one has the light blue words here. The green one has the green one, so that you know what belongs where. And the flashcards are in 3 different shapes. So for one word, you have 3 flashcards. 2 are the same, where the picture and the word is on the one side, and the other one is where you have the picture on the one side and the word is on the back side of the card. The second product is Read and Play Picture Book that is originally meant for home use, and it can really very well support your teaching practice, especially when you introduce literacy. This is the picture book where you have the color-coded text inside, and phonics chants where children can practice certain phonics. You also have the access to the voice recordings where you can listen to the native speakers read the entire book or the nonsense phonics chants in different accents. You can have Scottish, New Zealand, Australian, and American accent. Children can listen to different accents of English language, how certain word is pronounced, but the color code system here is the British spelling, the British pronunciation, not spelling, the British pronunciation. Together with the picture book, you can also see the cards are included, and how to play the cards. You have the instructions at the cards section of the shop, where you have instructions for the games. You can have them in text, or you can watch the recording how the game is played. You have different levels of the games. This also game is really for the youngest ones. Then you have 2 versions of also game. One is to collect words and one is to form sentences. Then you have the sentence train for more advanced children, where It is a group work where you put sentences together so that children cooperate. And then you have a sentence quest. That is really the sophisticated game where you can practice all the grammar that is relevant in the primary school and even beyond it. So you can use passive voice, active voice, all the tenses. You have all parts of speech included, and the cards are general edition deck. Okay, and in the picture book, you have winter holiday deck. I didn't mention, but maybe I should. If you want to be part of our group, our ChessBook study group, there is really a lot of work to manage such groups. So that's why it is becoming a member is not for free. And if you want to join in, it's under the packages and you buy the subscription. Of course, for every material, but for cards, there is discount. But the discount is limited till the 26th of January, and you can get €10 discount on every product. The code for the discount will be sent to you. So if you want, you're welcome to join us. Here is the Slovene side and here is the English side. If you use the cards just for home use, one package is enough. But I suggest that if you use it in a class, that you use it in a group of 4 or maximum 5 children. So that way you need more decks. And if you buy more decks, if you buy 3 decks or more, you get one extra one included in the package. That is the offer for using it in a classroom. Let's go back to my presentation. All right. There is also the YouTube channel where you can get, and it's free, of course, the channel where you have clips of the activities. Mostly I present the picture books that I have used as projects in my classroom and some of the activities that are pinned to that. If you want to get the recording, the new recording that is uploaded, I suggest you subscribe to the channel, and that then you will be informed when the new film clip is on. So this is about the material that you can get, all the help. You can, of course, if you are on the methodology side, you can also do the material yourselves, because it is all well explained how to do it through the film clips. So that is the end of my presentation. As I said, the session is 2 hours long, because if you have any questions that you would like to ask me, now's the time you can do it. I think I have seen in the chat, I will just switch my camera on so you can see me who I am. I think I've seen one question posted. What if they don't like drawing? Yes, I think, Ida, you think that you posed that question when we were doing the doodling part. Is it so?
Yes.
The doodling part. Yes. I never push them to do. Some children, just use a pencil and write like an icon. Or I sometimes bring stickers and they can bring stickers. Or I bring pictures and they glue the pictures if they do not like drawing. But I have to say that in my classroom, in my career, only my son was the one who didn't want drawing, didn't want coloring, but he was okay with just drawing with a pencil. Do you have any specific question regarding this, Ida, or have I answered your question?
Yes, it's okay. Thank you.
when I presented how I start introducing the letters and the sounds, I did it a little bit differently, and I spelled out the word to sound out the letters. And she said that some words cannot sound out and that it is wrong. And my question to Sandra would be that our children are used, Slovenian children are used to spell out, like, for instance, if they ask a teacher, how do you spell because? We would say because. We will not say because, like to sound out, and they are used to that. So maybe if the mother tongue uses this way of telling how to spell the word, is not wrong if you sound out the word. But because Sandra said that generally in the phonics approach, they do not do that, and they need to see the word as the picture. This color code system works brilliantly because then they see the sound with the letters together, and gradually they see the word as the picture and they can write it down. But they always need to write it down in the context because there is the same sound of the word, but it is spelled differently and the meaning is also different. This English spelling is really difficult, and as Sandra said, it takes 6 years for the native speakers to learn the spelling. So do not expect our children to learn it in, I don't know, starting in the 3rd grade, and by the 4th grade they will know how to spell. It's really a process.
Mia, hi, I have a question.
Petra, go
Hello. I have a question about color code introduction. Do you use special color for special letters or sounds, or is that not obligatory?
Obligatory.
So, yes.
Yes. If you decide to do everything on your own, so you will buy the books, you will photocopy them, and you will color code them to have them as the reading badge for children because they're really eager to borrow this sort of books, then you can do it as you want. But the color code book that I have published, it is always going to be the same. This is just one book. I have already installed the next one, and it will have the same color coding system. So once the children know, it is obligatory, or it is not obligatory. It is really recommended that you use the same color code system every time, you as the educator, okay? Because then you can use that for different books. I have the same color code system, and I didn't do it just on my own. I have consultations with professors from the university because this is IPA, International Alphabet Pronunciation System, just color coded. So it is aligned with the original IPA alphabet, and it follows the theory, okay? So it is foolproof, and I also did the proofreading. I also gave the proofreading to one native speaker who professes in pronunciation. So I hope I answered your question, Petra.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you.
I have a question, Mia.
Hmm?
Do you have maybe any advice how to do this gap fill reading with, I don't know, more than 20 students, in big classrooms? So you have these small groups, and so with 4 or 5 students, I can imagine that you can do this, but how to manage how to do this in a classroom with 20 or more students?
Maya, you asked the question, didn't you?
Yes.
Thank you, Maya. Yes, thank you for the question, Maya. Yes, I know that it can be overwhelming. It's, oh my goodness, I have 20 or even more students and do this gap fill. Well, gap fill is a process that you teach them while you do doodling. The doodling is a time-consuming job that takes up to 10 or 15 lessons that you can do with the whole group. And if you go to the recordings, you will see that stages that you do the doodling, you also introduce the gap fill reading. And by the time they have the doodle ready, children already know what gap fill reading is. And if you, as it is suggested that in the first grade, you start introducing group work, by the time you do this gap fill, children are already familiar with how to work in group work, and you can have just one group that you do gap fill reading with, and then you have 5 or 4 students, and the rest are doing other things. And you can also, once they know how the gap fill process is, you can do it the way as I did with this 6 students that you saw in the film clip. You can do it with 20, simply orally, as you do the storytelling and as you do many activities. I did teach 30 students in Osnovna škola in primary school Vojnik, and this doodle reading, gap fill reading worked. But I have to tell you, if you want to do it without going through the stages as I have shown you, it will not work. You need to go step by step.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Hi, Sabina.
I would like to say something. I'm looking forward to meeting you in May in our school. I really look forward to. Thank you very much. I'm so excited. It's fantastic. I just had one question in my head. Do they ever lose the colors after some years, or will they always see the colors when they're reading? That was I was thinking. So like synesthetists do, you know what I mean? If they see a word, will they always see the color? What do you think? Do you have some experience?
Thank you, Sabina, for the question. Yes, I'm looking forward to come to Graz as well. I'm really proud that you have found me and invited me there. So I'm really looking forward for that too. Regarding your question, you know what? I have never asked my students that, and they've been color code reading for several years now, but the stage goes like they read color code books for like 3 years, and by that time they become familiar with the reading, and then they move on to other books that are not color coded. That is one thing. And another thing is, as they read color code tests, they read this color code test book at home, text at home. And when they read it with me in the classroom, they have the original book with no colors. So they're all the time in the color code system, all right? It's just to help them transfer to see the word as the picture, as the whole.
I see.
But I will ask my older students that question, and when I see you in May, I'll tell you, all right?
So then we will decide if you will do it or not. No, I'm joking. I'm kidding.
Do you think that is wrong to see the colors in the words?
No, I think it would be funny because I know a girl. I learned French with her, and she sees the world in colors. If she's listening to music, she's seeing colors. Perhaps that's a nice way to see the world.
And maybe it is also because there are also phonics. Phonics are color coded, and this way they can easier learn how to spell. I don't see the bad thing in it, even if they keep seeing the colors. And they have color.
Would be funny to hear.
Yeah. I'm going to ask older students.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is Sonia.
Sonia,
Can you hear
hello.
me? Yeah, hello. Well, I just wanted to say, I'm teaching teenagers and adults, but I think I was listening to you. I was thinking about my students who have some difficulties learning, students with some, special needs. And I'm thinking that probably I could adopt this method so as to teach them better, from this communication point of view. Because I feel that we fail with these students because we want them to learn, with the same method as the rest of the students, and they have to think different. I have especially like that comment about some people thinking in colors. Maybe, yeah, I have to think about it, and we'll be in touch. Yeah, I think you've done a fantastic webinar. Thank you.
Thank you, Sonia. Yes, if you have any question, don't hesitate to turn to me, and I can help you with that. And with what I do with young children, and I do not have experience with adults, but you have, so we can maybe come to a middle ground and see how this would work with older, with adults, because some things may be too childish to them, but we can adapt. Yes. Thank you, Sonia,
Yeah,
for the feedback.
thank you. Thanks to you.
Yes, hello, Mia.
Yes, Nisha, would you like to say something as well?
Yes, I wanted to say that, as you said, I'm implementing this communicative approach this year, and I found many benefits from it. And I have to say, like you always say, it's a progress, and I'm still learning, as we all do. And I'm looking forward to each step. This platform that you showed to the participants is really useful. I go back to it every time I need some questions arise, and actually I see progress in students. I implement this communicative approach in the first graders, but also I use some activities with the second graders, and I have to say I'm really positively surprised how they move on each time. So I really recommend it to those who aren't actually acquainted to this approach yet.
Thank you, Nisha. Yes, I agree. It takes time. It's a slow progress, but if you start, like Nisha said, at the beginning with the first graders, or even in kindergarten, if you have kindergarten kids, it will be much easier for you, and you will do it step by step, and you will not be overwhelmed. And because it is not a general approach that you can do, and that you get support, that's why we have this group where you can always find an ear and a shoulder to help you whenever you stumble.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, thank you,
We
Neil.
learn from each other.
Yes, we do. We do. I'm also still learning. As I said, this approach is work in progress. And I wanted to say to Sonia, because she opened this color code system, I am dyslexic and I have difficulties reading still. I am a slow reader, and colors helped me. And I still am not at the stage to see the word as a picture. I see the letters and I need to look at the word for longer time to see it as a picture. That's how I developed this system to help children see the word, separate letters as a picture in a word. So not every disability that you have is bad. Some can be good as well. So I used my dyslexia to find a way how to solve problems. Yes, I totally agree with you, Nosha. I didn't read it. Everyone can read it. But yes, as I said, it is a work in progress. And my approach that I have shown is absolutely not one and only the only one that works. It is the one that I can say it works. It works with young children, but there are other ways you can do that as well, and you can combine them. I just said that if you use course books, it will not leave you enough time to do anything else because course books take up all the time to go through the course book. Thank you for joining me, and I hope to see some of you in our ChestBook study group. I'll send you the discount code today, and see you when we see each other. Bye.
Bye, see you.
Bye.
Bye, Mia. See you soon.
Bye.
Bye bye.